First, I really want to thank Software Composition Group and Tudor for the organization of the conference. The first one was in 2011 at Annecy, so very few people knew that. And then last year it was at Lille, so this is really cool to have it at Bern. Thanks a lot. And we really appreciate it. So, I also want to thank our consortium members. So we will talk about that tomorrow, but this is really, it's very nice. So, yes, we should continue that. We will talk more about that tomorrow. And by the way, you need to have a logo. Huh? Where is the? Yes, Diego, you should send.
Yes, I will. We will compile the sheets afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I don't know if you saw this picture. I really like this picture. And when I saw it, I said, yes, this is exactly that. By the way, do you know why this is called Pharo? Did you see? Okay, I have a video for you somewhere. I forgot to put it right. It's a really complex stuff. This was in 2009 or 8 or something like that, when there was this huge contest across France. You should not forget to close the window, because that's very important. So you see, so yes, you got the idea. And I don't know how many of you saw that, but for me, when we created Pharo, one guy sent us this video and I said, oh yes, because this is not by accident that we took this logo and the name and things like that. This is because we want to have these kinds of, but now we have one with the special. So it's even better. So I have some stupid slides so that people that do not know Pharo can really take the presentation and understand a bit what I am saying. Yes, you can. Yes. So we all know that Pharo is an object-oriented system, living system. There is one point here, is that we should, as a community, we should really understand how we can market better our nice system. Because this is not just enough to say, oh, this is cool and fun to program with. I think that, and we will start to think really a bit more about that. This is what are the key aspects of Pharo in the future. And for us, this is really a living system that is malleable. So yes, when we talk about Pharo, I would also like that we really realize that I think that we weak at understanding the complexity of what is Pharo distribution. So we have VMs, so normally I forgot there is also Android and iOS. Compiler ID, so you will see that we have a new IDE and things like that. UI framework, theme, widget, FFI frameworks, graphic library, object serialization, network protocols, web frameworks, HTML things, graphical frameworks, tool building systems, database connection, proxy logging, parsing technology, and more than that. So I think that probably you are often focused on your little things, or it can be big but still, while when we are thinking in terms of Pharo, we are thinking in terms of the complete ecosystem. And that's very important. You will see, and we come back to the notion of certified package and catalog at the end, and this is something that we will build for Trio to manage that. There is around 300 packages that we could manage with the certified catalog. So, Pharo, for us, this is really we really want to have a powerful system to be able to invent the future. That's why we are doing a lot of work at the infrastructure level. So this means that sometimes there are changes that you may not notice that are really important. Just to give you an example. Right now, we are working on putting in place a little box that manages events from the virtual machine so that we can do touch events. Why this is important? There is a Thales in France that is doing radar systems. They are doing their prototypes in another small talk, and they are porting a part of their prototype system to Pharo, and they need vector graphics and event touch, because they want to be able to say, oh, when I'm doing that, it means that. And basically, normally you will not see that, but it will be changed, so that people can do new experiments, like I don't know if you know the work of Fernando Olivero on Gaucho. This is a new way to display things on the screen during your IDE. He is using this event system. So, really focusing on the infrastructure. So, and our goal, this is really to create an ecosystem where people can make money with Pharo, or where innovation can really bloom. And that's really, really important. So, we could have done Pharo as a research prototype for us, and probably be really happy to. But we really decided, okay, we want Pharo to be used by other people, and to be at the quality that they can really do business with that. So yes. So from that perspective, we just do not want to be an open source model. We want to be something much better. So probably we will see if we have the time for Trio, but I hope that we will get that. We want to have first-class instance variable in the system. And if you have first-class instance variable, it means that you can do a lot meta-modeling much easier, things like that. But this means that in that case, it will not be just a Smalltalk implementation, it will be a Smalltalk-inspired system. So just some success story, people that are doing real things with Pharo. There is a list with a Seaside, a Smalltalk Club, a Yes Plan. They will show that tomorrow. Let's say people, Dr. Gio that is working on Android and all kinds of platforms. I don't remember what is in which. For example, also the people from it's really interesting because they use Pharo on the server side. So this is the person that are doing Zinc, the HTTP web server. Spicesoft, that is in discovered that Pharo is used by companies for doing managing TV entertainment systems in hotel and hospital. I said, wow. You go on the website, it is called Square-I, and if you go on the website of these people, you have no clue that they would do something in Pharo. They pay the better support for Mac OS X. So yes, so we want more success story. So I know that some of you are working in companies, for example Sabine. It would be really nice just that we know what you are doing and what we can communicate, because it is important that other company knows, oh yes, there are people doing things in Pharo, and then we can make buzz with that. So, Pharo 2.0. Yeah, we did a lot. So, I want to explain you what we did, because you probably do not follow the mailing list. There are far too many mails. But I want to explain you what we are doing. And then after I will show you what we are starting to do for 3.0. So, if you check, we are now, so if you look at the number, you will say, oh, we did less, but in fact, we closed much more bug entries because we group them together for each update. So I should collect the information, but I didn't have the time. So what we now, our process is the following. We have 1 year release. So this means that normally around March every year we release a version. We always release major versions. So we have, the next one will be 3.0. And then we have a summer edition for the current release that we maintain, where we gather all the bug fixes for the current version. But we will rarely introduce new feature in the current stable version, because each time you introduce something, you introduce bugs too. So we will really, in the summer version, really pay attention to select the issue that will be integrated. So I will go over the list, and you can ask me questions if you want. For the UI, we introduce spec. So Benjamin will present a tutorial tomorrow. No, today. Today. Okay, today. So spec. Spec, this is the idea that you want to be able to describe your application, the way your widgets are put on the screen in a declarative way. So this means that you can a bit, how many of you know the Visualworks way of building widgets? Okay, so I can explain. So the idea of spec, this is really that you have an application model. So this is a class that represents the glue between other widget and your domain object. And using this application class, you can have multiple first placement of the widget on the screen. So yesterday in the train we did a searchable list where you have the search on the top or on at the bottom of the list. And for that, we just created a new declaration. We just said, oh, you know, the logic is exactly the same. We just want to move these two things. Second, we want to compose a widget out of existing widgets. So there is a way to say, okay, I want to reuse the logic and not just the placement, the logic of this widget. So when you click here, shows this text there. I want to reuse this logic and embed it into my composite widget. So probably in 3.0 we will have a UI painter, which is a different tool. A UI painter, this is a tool to place widget and to specify connection between widgets with a canvas. And right now with spec we were focusing on what is the underlying mechanism so that we can compose things together. And basically this is a value holder mechanism. And what we will do, this is we are rewriting all the tools based on spec. So slowly we will deprecate string holder. It's a large effort. We are rewriting everything. So in 2.0, there was a lot of widget enhancement. For example, I'm probably wrong, but there was the widget with multi-selection, and the list with multi-selection, and the list with single selection. And guess what? Now there is only one that manages both, and all kinds of things. The widget that can support that you put a string or that you put a morph. So less is better. Huh? So we are killing those kinds of widgets. In 2.0 there is a complete rewrite of the list, and in 3.0 there will be probably a complete rewrite of the tree, of the text editor. So we are going in that direction. The progress bar and the complete progress bar logic has been rewritten, so you will see that there are some glitch a bit, but this was necessary, so we'll continue that. The layout improvement, yes. Yes. So, the protocol, it's a bit stupid, but it's also important that sometimes people read the code when they write it. Right? How do you specify a widget? It was, you have a canvas and you can say this is this region, and I occupy only half of it. Right? And to specify the half of it, people were used to specify it with 2 rectangles with 4 points, while sometimes they would have just need 1 digit. It said, I just need to say that this is 2 pixels off. And to say 2 pixels off, you would create 2 rectangles and 2 other rectangles with zeros everywhere. So we clean all this stuff, so now we deprecated the way the widget layout is made so that we just use the right local things. Key binding, so there is a new framework for doing all the key binding. It supports logic with platform specific. You can say, oh, I want Command B or on Mac, or I want, I don't know what, on Windows, and you can express it like that. And what we will do in 3.0, we will rewrite everything to use this. So new icons, yes. So if you know a nice designer that you would like to invest in Pharo and make us all more sexier, please do. We are looking for that. So in 3.0 there will be probably a new theme, so with shadow and things like that, but we have a role style notification because we are fed up to have these things that block us all the time with a warning that way that we click on OK. Just another, I would like to show you a bit the level of pain or of fun that we have, because we look at this. Right? Rectangle intersection. So I have a quiz for you. What is the answer of, you have a method, rectangle, intersect, another rectangle. What should we return when the intersection is null? What do we return when we have 2 rectangles that do not intersect, but we want to know the intersection?
The coordinates.
It depends. An empty rectangle, somebody want to say nil somewhere? No.
Yeah, I think.
It depends. It depends on the situation. So what's happened is that sometimes you want to have one way, sometimes you have to have another way, so that's why we deprecate intersects, and we say intersect if none, because you don't know. And what's happened is that, for example, this change had impact on the clipping, because the clipping sometimes was a bit strange and said, why the system redraw that way it should not? And in fact, people were using the layout improvement. So when you specify the layout of your widget, sometimes you end up, since you were using rectangle, you end up with rectangles that are not like that, but like that. So you had rectangle with negative values. So what is a rectangle with negative values? I don't know. So this means that the system was propagating also rectangle with negative values, and we fixed all that stuff, nearly. So this is just to tell you that there are many improvements that you will not notice, but they are really important because they can have an impact like this one and this one. So we were forced with this one to fix this one. And this has an impact on the speed of the rendering of the ID, for example. And probably a lot more. Because the fact that you have a negative rectangle, it means that this regression went up until the primitive of the system. And the primitive checks, oh, I am negative, so I don't do anything. Luckily, else we would have been crashing before. Anyway, so normally you will have no impact with these two, but the system will really benefit of that. And this means that fixing all the colors in all the widget creation in the system, everything. Development tool. So we have a new browser that is Native Boost. So probably
Not Native Boost.
Sorry, Nautilus. I'm still waking up. Nautilus. So probably, Benjamin, you should show a bit the hidden part of Nautilus and the tip and tricks for the shows your project. We will probably rewrite Nautilus with spec, but in essence you have groups. You can have the smart groups to manage what you are doing, hierarchy, icon navigation, refactorings, multiple editing and things like that. So you can give us feedback, but what you should know is that this is always difficult to do a nice browser. So especially because we are changing also the package system. So Benjamin has to adapt all the time. We change something and we break something, so it was breaking the browser. The critics browser, that's a really important part of the puzzle for 3.0. In the past, if you take when you want to run the validation rules, who is using small lint? Who knows small lint? Who is using small lint? Oh wow, wait, we cannot tell. So, you know why we are not using small lint? Because it's boring. It's boring to always say the same. It's really annoying. So what we are doing for 2.0 is that now you have a critic browser which can generate metadata. This means that you can run small lint once on your code and say, oh, it's a false positive, please do not bother me anymore with that. Or say, okay, it's a false positive, but you are quite right, but I don't have the time right now to do it. So maybe you mark it as a to-do. So like that, I know the feeling. So right now, like that, you say, let me decide when I will want to fix you, and you say to do, and that's done. And you can version this information with your package. So what we have been doing also, this is to reassess the small lint rules. Some of them were a bit strange and things like that, so we will continue that. And the idea is that we will validate all the package of the system with that. So for example, last Friday we started with IST core. We run small lint and we spent 3 hours, we fixed everything. Or half of it. We found code that was sending methods that are not implemented and things like that. How this is possible? It is possible because normal software development is a human task. So you are doing something, somebody call you, and then you reply to your wife, and you lose context, and then you commit, and that's done. It's as simple as that. So now we want to have really an automated way to manage that. So this is on the way. So the critics browser is the first generation of that. We have interactive navigation, so normally Camille can explain that when we click on command click, you can jump to the class, or to the, if you command click on the class name, you will jump to the class name. If you command click on the selector, you will jump there. In 3.0, we will have abstract syntax-free navigation. So this means that, yes, no. So what does it mean? It means that in your text editor, you don't look at text, you look at the interaction with the text will be driven via an abstract syntax tree. So this means that when I see a selector, I know that this is a selector, I know this is a message sent, I know that this is an instance variable, and if this is an instance variable, I only want to see the refactoring that applies to the instance variable. So we have a version of that running in our some images, and it will be available for everybody. We have spotlight, so shift plus enter and then you type what you want and you jump there. Div tool enhancement. We unified and cleaned before there was smart character that were working halfway or even when they want to work, and you had the O completion that was a duplication of E completion, and this was just code that we liked because we liked the functionality, so we just merged everything. We cleaned the duplication, we rationalized that, so now you can have O completion, E completion working, and smart character together. We have a different shout, a syntax highlighter themes, and we introduce the profiler of Andreas if it can help you. That's okay. We are still wondering what is really the use case to use this profiler. But in general, what we want always better tool, and then now we will really start. I think that's why I put this Pharo shuttle. I really think that we are in this, we will continue to this trend to have, we will have a new debugger with Android and instance-based debugger and things like that for free. The compiler, so we now, the compiler work on the RB abstract of Max 3, we have an error node, so the error node is quite cool because it supports all kinds of scenarios. I don't want to go into detail. What is important is that in Trio we will kill the old compiler, we use a new one, which is running already, we can recompile everything, and also it will be the foundation for what we call an IST interpreter. The idea is to have a new way of debugging code because the logic of the old compiler is terrible. And we don't want to burn smart guys to fix ugly things. So we decided to go another road, so we will have a new debugger that we can manage in a much better fashion. Networking, so there is a new version of Zinc. So Sven is constantly fixing and improving the HTTP library. And now there is support for SSL, which is really important when you want to do something in the real world. So we are really happy with that. Also something that worked well, and I didn't add that, this is that there are some companies, I don't know the name of the company, but there were some bounties where people were putting money on the table, and the association and probably the consortium can play the game too. So this means that if you need a certain set of library, this was what is OAuth, or I don't remember, WebSocket. There was a company in the US that said, oh, I really want, we can put 1,000, 1,500 euros on the table because we need this feature. Other people put also money, yes, we put money because the consortium was not there at the time, and it was done. So that's a model that we also want to push, and now we have the tools for that. So from the system point of view, we introduce system announcer. So in Squeak, we introduced that with rule, we introduced the system notifier with rule. So what was the goal of the system notifier? It was the idea that when you want to write a tool, you just listen to an event, because before there was no such a thing. But the problem is that this event with the system notifier was only notifying symbols and said, okay, these things happen. Oh, a method has been renamed. And it was a bit clunky. Let's say it like that. So we introduced system announcer. So system announcer, now you have a real object that is announced, where you can put state and things like that. And we deprecated system notifier, because one of the ideas in Pharo is that we would like to have only one thing applied systematically, and not three different kinds of things running in parallel system. So we introduce what we call air package to replace package info. So the idea, this is how the package are identified in the system. This package info, we rely on this category schema, why this is not really needed. A package could say, oh yes, I need this and this and this as extension, and that's it. So we introduce the manifest. So the manifest, this is package metadata. So this is where do we store the false positive. Where do we store the documentation of the project? So we want to have much more information of project at the package level. We have a really nice new extensible command line that can be developed. And the nice effect of that is that also for our Jenkins builds, we remove a lot of bash code. So we can move the bash fucking logic that we don't have any debugger on the small talk level. So we have native boost. For the moment, native boost is not used per se, but this is really important because for Pharo we have vector graphics and Calibro backend, and native boost is really a key part. So native boost is a library that generates assembly code plus logic of how to call function in the system. And we continue to have the ring meta model. So what is the ring meta model? This is that when you want to reason about code, let's say you open a browser, for example, because the browser could be like that, or when you drop a file from an external hard disk, or from your hard disk to the Pharo image, what should I display? How do I display that this is a class and things like that? So we use what we call a ring object that represent class methods, a meta model of code. And the idea is that the API of ring object is compatible with the API of the living object in the system. So like that, normally a browser can manipulate either a living class or a ring object, which can be also remote. The idea is that we want to avoid to build one browser for browsing remote object and remote classes, and one browser for browsing files that are on the disk, and one browser for browsing our living object. So that the ring is the infrastructural model for that. So now we have a fuel. Who knows what fuel is? Okay, so good marketing. So fuel is a fast binary serializer that Mario did during his PhD. And that is, now we use it heavily. So we remove all the smart ref, whatever, logic. The only thing that is kept in the system, this is the logic for managing Monticello file. Because Monticello serializes the object. So we need a way to make sure that we can move that. Yes, better support for free-type fonts. So now we can really work well. Session-aware code, that's really interesting. This is another of these things that you don't know that one little dwarf is doing in the dark with his little hammer, but it's a quality change that normally you will not notice, but we will really enjoy. The point is, what do you do if you reopen your system? So you have your nice image. You load some, you use some fonts of your OS. What do? You save your image. 3 months later, you reopen the image. What should happen? What should happen? It depends, because the same logic, you said, oh, we should clean the handle, because the handle, we have an OS handle that represents the fonts that you log in. So what should we do? Now we have a logic that says, we can run the same, we have the logic where the system knows, do I am in the same session? So this means that is it in the same lifetime? Because maybe I would like to clean the handle before saving or after saving or when I reload. So you have the logic, we encapsulate the logic, because now we know if we save the system or not. We have a session identification, and the session means are you working in the same time period than the save or not. And this means that it can factor a lot of strange logic for resource management. Because if you reopen your image 3 months after, you don't have to clean the handle because the OS is already gone. So if you try to clean the handle and they are already gone, then you will end up in a strange situation. You should only clean them if you are in the same session. So how do we capture this kind of logic? This is the same for socket, for example. How do we close the socket in the right moment and not in a strange way and having a complex logic behind the scene? So typically, session lower code is really a way to really manage well the resources with the external system. In Pharo 1.4, there was this on fork. I don't know if you noticed, there was something that was called on do. So this means that if I get an error, then I do something. And we had also on fork. If I get an error, then I fork another process. And this was really interesting because like that we could debug things. And we could decide those kinds of error, we can still debug them. Or we can, no, this is worse than that. This is that you have different things to do, and one is breaking. Do you block the rest? For example, you propagate events in the system. You say, oh, you know, I want events, so I register to events. So we can build a wonderful infrastructure with a lot of tests. If, because you write a registration that breaks, you break the delivery of the event, then the system is on its knees. So we need a way to say, okay, you know what? When we deliver event, if there is an error, what we will do is that we will cut the stack with the error, we will run it into another process so that you can get a debugger if you want, and we continue to execute the rest. Because like that, we have the stability for us. And you can write the shitty code that you want, you will not break our system. No, because that's really important from that perspective. So this method, this on fork, was really the result of a lot of discussion of how can we manage the infrastructure in a way that we can work and you cannot destroy an infrastructure and complain to us and say, oh, your system is brutal, no, your code is wrong, this is something else. But, you know, so like that now we can protect those kinds of things. And those are, for me, this is quality in the infrastructure. And normally you will not see that. You will not see that because just the system is much more stable and robust. So, for the system, we use Metacelo. So now Metacelo is in the system. So Metacelo, who knows what Metacelo is? Okay, that's good. So Metacelo, this is a map. This is a way to describe the map of a project. So it means that people think that modularity comes with packages. No, with packages comes the mess. You cut the system in little pieces and you throw them into the air and say, oh, this is confetti, yes! And now we try to get a map with that and say, oh, shit! Oh, I can load this version with this version. No, you cannot, because where did you express it? Oh, never, it's not magic. No, it's not magic. So, Metacelo capture the dependency and the project. So this means that as a project, you can say, oh, I want to load this stable version of this project, but on this one, I want the latest version that because I want to be on the bleeding edge of this one, but not of this one. So now we have Metacelo in the system, and that's really important. I will show you why after. File system, so yes, thanks Camille for pushing that. We have now a decent file library. Before, I was completely mad because to rename a file it would take me 20 minutes. And I said, come on, it's not like that. I don't dream about this system. So now file system is nice. But again, file system, it means, oh, we read the code of Colin, we modified the code of Colin, we wrote comments, we wrote a chapter, and nothing is magic. At the end, people were doing that and understanding. And then, once this stuff was good, we said, okay, now let's rewrite the complete system with file system so that we don't have that corner in our system. For people, yes, date and time refactoring, because there was some craziness. Now, internally, this is pretty easy. Again, a lot of strange bugs logic because you don't have the right stuff inside and the time is different here and there. And in the time zone, when you travel, it's different too. And suddenly, you are in a time, oh, you don't exist anymore. It's fixed. VM, a lot of work. There's a S, the VM, so this means that we want to identify exactly which version of the VM, because usually people don't understand that there is a difference between the POC VM and the Pharo VM. There are some fixes, for example, extension for the file system, for the symlink, for example, management, so that file system can follow. Support for the SSL plugin, file plugin enhancements, socket plugin fixes, and also that the bundling, I think that as a Smalltalk people, we are all spoiled. Me the first. We are spoiled. You know, what we do is that we take our image, we double click and oops, it's open, oh, and I can work, oh, and I have access to what I need, oh, and you save it. And then you go on another OS, and then you do the same, and it works. In reality, this is not like that, guys. So this means that for Cairo to work on the 3 main platform, I guess that Igor has to fix the makefile of the distribution, of course. Not our makefile, their makefile on Windows. And this means that a lot of energy to make sure that the stuff works on this system and on that system. And you know, when we are saying Linux, this is yet another. It depends which version of Linux. And I don't know if I discovered that, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one that think that the world is not like that. When you have a C library, this is standardized. A C library, you can call it. It's normally simple. It's simple with big quotes. When this is a C++ library, you depend on the compiler version and on the OS version. And I was shocked. I said, wow, we cannot simply call a C++ library. Just like that. The state of the art of our software industry is like that right now. So this means that if you have a C++, and I was shocked, I said, what? And I read an article where the guy explained, no, you have to do the compiler version because sometimes they do this optimization. So this means that you, externally from that, you cannot call that. So in the business world of the happy Smalltalker, it's different. But pay attention, the world is complex outside. And this means that those kinds of work, they can take really a lot of time. So now, what is really nice is that we are ready to ship Pharo with vector graphics. But to arrive at that point, so yes, cleanups a lot. Yeah, the infrastructure. So we need a lot of work to have continuous integration for everything. And we will arrive to the point that if what you are doing is not on what we are doing is not on integration server, it does not exist. Period. Because it's not sustainable in the long term. The zero-conf script, this is how can you install Pharo and the VM in one line without any installation before. And that's cool. So now it's working really well. What we will have is that if you go on our integration server, you will have the Pharo core, this is our business, and we want to have as few as possible as jobs there. Of course, they combine on 3 different platforms and things like that. And then we have the Pharo contribution. So this means that if you need, so this is the thing that we will maintain, like for example, I maintain, because I need the XML writer, so I port it to Smalltalker, and I execute systematically the test. Each time there is a commit, the tests are executed and things like that. So if you need, you can get account, and we will offer you the power, the machine, the space. There is one condition. If your integration server scripts are read more than 1 month, you are kicked out. It's very simple. So there is nothing like, oh yes, I create the stuff and then I don't care. So it's read, and then people come to see Pharo and say, oh yes, Pharo, this is this community with all these red Jenkins jobs. No. So we will have a garbage collector for Jenkins projects that are not good. We have also small token. So who is using small token? It will improve. It will improve. We say weekly to Nicolas. We have a long list of features. But no, that's really important that we move to the next level from the perspective. Just, I don't know if you know the vision document. Who knows that document? Okay. So, in the Pharo mailing list in the past, there was endless discussion of, and also people were wondering what we were doing. We have a vision, you know. This year we got the retina screens. And people said, yeah, but the fonts on the retina screens, they don't look completely sharp. But in the future we will have Cairo. And Athens this is what? 6 months of development just to make a nice object model out of Cairo and OpenGL, vector graphics, logic. And we started 1 year ago, so this means that we have the vision. So this document describes the vision. There is 2 words, a small kernel, 2 words, verified package catalog, robust and extensible system, rewrite of file system strings, announcements and ephemeral, UI canvas for zoomable interface, bootstrap of the core, fully parameterized tool chain, package as real object, package metadata, less model clutter and duplication, building and reusing UI logic, new network layer, serializer, system change notifier replacement, cleaning morphic, VM identification and regression testing, one unified FFI framework. So what I want to show you here is that we have a vision. We've even write it so that people can read it. Because this is easy to say, no, you don't want to be the core. Yes, we do. It's just that it takes time. And doing things for real takes always more time than you believe. And that you estimate. And what is fun is that, so first we have this document, this is 40 pages, you can read on a topic if you are interested. And then I mark where we are in the progression. And probably I will revisit, it's really fun to revisit the document and say, oh, it's done now, we can throw away this done chapter. And that's nice. It does not mean that it's the exclusive roadmap. We have that is really the backbone vision, and then we have much more details around. So, something really important is that we want to improve the system, and we don't want to have just a nice library on top of crap. So it costs more. So this means that you have to rewrite the stuff, you have to make sure that everything works. Of course, not everything is perfect. So now we are starting to do retrospective analysis, because 1 year project means that you will take a lot of time. And what we are doing, we will have 1 month cycles. 1 month cycles with probably a boost and a sprint per month, and a retrospective analysis at the end of the month. So like that we can motivate ourselves to do really a lot of change, and not just change at the beginning and then after say, no, don't do change anymore because it will break the system. So, like that we will be able to change the system at least 10 times. What is important? I don't really know if you know what is a non-linear growth. We believe, and that's why I put this shuttle on the first slide. There are some moments where you know what will happen. You said, oh, you know, this is easy with Pharo, you can do that and that and that. And what is really interesting, this is the moment where you do not know what will happen. Because people arrive and they do things that were unanticipated. And we are at this moment. And this is what is a non-superior linear growth. For example, the last time there were some people from Italy that told me, oh yes, you know what we want to do with Pharo? We want to generate OpenCL code. So OpenCL, this is code for executing code directly on the CPU, like a CUDA, GPU, not on CUDA, this is for NVIDIA, and OpenCL, this is open. So like that you can crunch much more speed from the system. And he said, yeah, this is really interesting. We would love that somebody is doing that. We don't really have the time for doing that. But this is this project that you will never thought that somebody would do except you and things like that. So I think that it will happen. So some community ongoing projects. We have better widgets on the way. UI Builder versus or UI Painter, and we should call it better browsers, proxy. So we are thinking about a much better proxy system. The new compiler, so we get in, better canvas, it's done. Better amplify, the bootstrap. We have a bootstrap process that takes file from Git and produce an image that is 200K if you want to have something that you can work with, and 80K if you want something that can do big and read from a file. So this is really interesting. What we are working, but that's not for 3.0 probably, this is that we could have multiple images inside the system. So this means that you could have a system, you could imagine that you could debug an endless loop that's happened in another image. This is like a virtualizer, kind of. But this will be based on the bootstrap, and the bootstrap will be like for it as a core. I will come back to that. Package distribution, so video generation. So I know that you are using Artifact. So yes, I said that. So for Trio, we will have the new compiler for real, Athens. So Athens, this is a canvas. This is a platform agnostic or library agnostic vector graphics canvas with specific instantiation, one for Cairo, probably one for OpenGL, so that we can access and have a vector graphics user interface. And we want to have an integration process using Metacelo. I will just go back to that. And identity package. So you see, so we will produce documents like that. Marchery, Opal should be integrated. We will integrate the new debugger, the IST interpreter, and then email. So we are trying our new process, and we will publish regularly those kinds of things to show us, to communicate with the community, because a lot of things are happening, and just what I want. That. I just want to be able to go to the moon or Mars with my DVD, no internet connection, and still be able to load all my projects and get no bugs. So this means that the package, if you consider what is a project, so the package should be more self-contained, you should have test, linfuls, validated, and metadata. This is what I explained before. And we want them to get them run and certified. So what we basically for the distribution, how it will work, it will work like that. You have a distribution inbox, so this means that you may publish a configuration of your nice project that you want to include into the distribution. We will have a Jenkins jobs, automated jobs that just take that, run the test, load the code first, run the test, and run the validation rules. If you don't follow that, if you don't match that, you will be in the broken distribution now. If it's okay, you will be moved into the distribution. And normally what we do is recursively copy everything into the distribution, so that you don't have the problem of script map where you click on a link and then you end up with a broken server because the guy left the community 5 years ago. So the process, so you use Metacelo, you publish in your repository, so this means that you think object. A project is an object like any other thing. So you publish in your repository your configuration. When you want, you can release your code to a distribution. It's your choice. And then all the code is copied there, and then we enter the loop. Because people were completely confused. You have the project code, and then they publish the map somewhere in the Metacelo repository, which is just, for the moment, the place where we have the distribution. So basically, Because right now, what the people were doing, some of them, they were just putting micro here and this not there. And he said, yeah, but that's not our job, guys. Because your day and age should be with you, not with somebody else. And then once, what we want to achieve is that we get a core, this 200K whatever, plus a specification, or list of specification, and then we produce with certified packages, we produce specific images. And this is the same, so when a change code comes in, what we will do is that we will generate a new spec and a new certified packages. And my suggestion is that you should think about configuration, the package configuration of as the entry point of your project. Or it's like a project is full of things, and then you say, oh, I don't understand anything. You just take the configuration, read the metadata, and this is the output. So I guess that I will be, but I do it. So tomorrow we will talk about that, the consortium and the association, but it's really important. How can we sustain Pharo? How can we structure the community? So now we have two cool websites. So this one, the Pharo Consortium, and then the Pharo User Association. The Pharo Books. So for those Spanish guys in the room, maybe you should send a mail to them to say that they should deliver it. Because this is translated. So it's fun because in South America we believe that they speak Spanish. No, they speak Spanishes. So the Chileans don't like the Spanish of the Argentinians, that don't like the Spanish of the Ecuadorian, no, this is not really Spanish. And at the end, what I suggested, they said instead of putting everything into one canonical Spanish, maybe we could say, okay, this is translated by blah 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 from Chile. Enjoy. The book should get out. That would be nice. So there is a new book. There are new books coming out. There is one that is called Deep into Pharo that we are finishing. And there is one that is Pharo for the Enterprise. And there is one that maybe we will never do it. We have the first version that is a glimpse at the VM. What is really important is that, and especially for the people doing PhDs that are really focused on paper, you can get paper easily with us. It's really nice. No, but seriously, a paper in a collection, if you look at some CVs, because I read a lot of CVs of a lot of people, there are some communities where this is really highly quoted to be, oh, you are in the book of these guys, oh, and then maybe nobody read them, but that's okay. So, if you pay attention, from time to time you can say, oh yes, there is this framework, and I really use it a lot, so I can write a chapter for one of the Pharo book, and this is a chapter, and I add it into my chapter in collection section of my CV. So, and I think that that's a nice model, because you will have people that read what you are writing, which is not often the case, and the community will have a bit more documentation. Because you can also often ask yourself, often say people, oh yes, there is not enough documentation. Yes, of course. You don't write them. So that's all.